Hey everybody, welcome back to another Udyr guide. We're on patch 614, and this time we're going to do a high burst, crit, sustain tiger build for top lane. That might sound like a strange combination of things, burst damage, crit, mana sustain, and health sustain, but the item Essence Reaver is going to tie it all together and make it work. We're going to have strong lifesteal from our masteries, so we can survive in lane as long as we want while we farm. But meanwhile, we're still going to do almost the same amount of damage compared to a regular old full AD build without crit, because our first two items will still give us 70 attack damage each for our Q damage, and we're also going to have 40% crit chance with all that AD. I got the idea to do a crit build from my commenters here on YouTube, so if you have any build ideas you want me to try, be sure to leave a comment. Let's start by talking about the item build order. I like to start level 1 with a Corrupting Potion because in the early game we don't really have a lot of sustain yet. Our mana regen and health regen hasn't really ramped up yet, which will happen after our first couple damage items. But before that, the Corrupting Potion will help keep us alive. So our first complete item is always going to be Essence Reaver. And after finishing this first item, we're going to be able to restore both of our health and mana just by attacking minions in lane. At this point in the early game, every crit will restore about 15 mana, which is not very much yet, but that's going to ramp up hugely in the mid and late game. There's two main build orders for the early game. If you would prefer to have the raw 1v1 damage early on, build the Infinity Edge before the Glacial Shroud. But if you would rather have the endless mana while you farm, and you can still trade and then heal yourself back up and get your mana back, this is a safer build order. The reason Glacial Shroud is in here is because it increases our maximum mana, and when we have more maximum mana, each of our crits are going to restore more mana. And then after these items are all complete, you would pick either Iceborne Gauntlet or Frozen Heart to upgrade your Glacial Shroud. After that, if you are doing well, it's going to be high risk, but you could actually get away with building one of these items or both of them because you're going to have so much lifesteal where if you do that much damage, it doesn't matter that you're so squishy because you're going to heal it up faster than anybody can do damage to you. And then all these items are the best options for defense because you don't want to get any more cooldown reduction. You're going to be max CDR after your first three items. Here is the rune page I'd recommend for this. Full attack damage, quintessences, and reds, because all that just plain attack damage is going to multiply well with our crit modifier. And also, I mean, that's just the best way to have the best bursts anyways, is to have all AD. Standard defensive yellows and blues, magic resistant armor. Masteries, lifesteal keystone. You can use this to survive just farming minions. You can heal yourself up in between trades. Since we're trying to surprise our opponents with pure damage, we're going to run double-edged sword and assassin as well. Okay, jumping into a ranked game now. Every game I try to get first blood using the same strategy. Run into the furthest lane bush to wait for the enemy to walk past, and the only way they're going to see you is if they use their warding trinket, which is not likely. This time I was a little bit slow, a little bit late, so he was already waiting for me in the bush. But since our damage is so ridiculous with this level 1 double Q with Corrupting Potion, I haven't really lost a 1v1 yet to anybody with using that strategy. The only matchups you have to watch out for in the early game are like long range damage with hard CC, like point and click CC that you can't dodge, like Pantheon, Rise, or Quinn. All those are going to be like the hardest matchups. But if you have a hard matchup, you just have to farm and wait until you get your Essence Reaver before you try to trade, because if you have the Essence Reaver, you can afford to take a little bit more damage while you trade, and then you can heal it back up and get your mana back in between trades. I decided to try to steal the red, and I thought I wasn't in very much danger, but spoiler alert, it's not going to end up very well. I'm going to tell you right now, I died twice in the early game, and the reason I decided to use this gameplay is to demonstrate how strong you can still be when you have a below average start. Also, I don't have any Corrupting Potion charges, and if you don't have any Corrupting Potion charges, you shouldn't try to trade, because that's going to do a lot more damage than you might expect. So right here, there's the second death I was talking about. Got a little bit, I guess I underestimated him a little bit, but Right after that, let's see what I do. I buy a BF sword. I just sneak up behind this guy, even though he's winning already. It doesn't matter, because AD. So I can still just melt this guy faster than he can melt me. And if I didn't have a below average start, it would be even easier. So I'm 2-2 now. So you can see right there with just one Tiger Burn and a couple autos I can bring him down that low. So Udyr showed up, I realized that he's squishier. I'm going to try to delete him before he even realizes he's dying. And then I just can easily finish off this guy. Now I have half the health of this Master E. He's 4-1. And I'm still able to 1v1 him with this build, which is pretty ridiculous. You can see the scoreboard right there. So this build is best for 1v1s like that. I kind of have to take them on one at a time, take out the squishies as soon as you can, not just to take them out of the fight, but because you can lifesteal faster by attacking squishies. It's because your lifesteal is calculated from the actual damage you do. So that's how to handle like 1v2s or 1v3s. But you really don't want to fight a bigger group than that, because you're going to be pretty squishy with this build. You're best off going for 1v1s. I just killed my opponent in 4 attacks now, so it's looking pretty good. Oh, then Master Yi shows up. That's a free kill if he lets me. But he played it safe. So I gotta try to recall as soon as possible to not waste all this gold. One thing about this build is you can stay alive so long and you don't really notice that you have to recall, because a lot of times, me personally, I just farm until I'm like out of mana or something. I use that as my gauge. But in this build, you're never going to run out of mana, you're never going to run out of health. So just try to remember to recall every once in a while. This jungle is now mine, because you can see Master Yi is terrified, and he should be. I'm going to just take some of his farm and take his blue buff. So I decided to switch over to bot lane, try to bring this damage down to the squishies. I mean, if I can catch up to either of these guys, I'm going to kill him in like 3 hits, because I just killed Trundle in 4 hits. But I took that bait so hard. She just walked me like a dog straight into their Master Yi. Looking at the scoreboard, I saw that Master Yi being so fed. Decided to get some armor, so I thought about getting the armor boots, but since the Glacial Shroud is part of the core, I just decided to get that. So that's going to increase our mana, that's going to also give us some CDR, and armor. Really good, perfect for our situation. If you needed the early magic resist, just go for the Merc Treads. So I'm going to take out this dragon. You can see my mana regenerate a little bit. It would be a lot more mana regen if you had the Cloak of Agility instead of a BF sword, because more crit chance and it takes you more attacks to kill things, so you're gonna get more mana regen while doing your regular farming. So let's try to catch one of these guys out before their team can come to help them. But if their entire team shows up like this, let's just run away. We barely got out of that one. And if we try to fight a 1v5 like that, or 1v4, you're gonna die real fast. You gotta play like an assassin with this build. So I'm gonna try to split push now. Instead of grouping, I think I'd be better off splitting with this build. So I can maybe draw 1 or 2 enemies down here, or even 3, and maybe get a kill or 2. Got that tower down. Let's just go help my team push down this mid a little bit. But after that, I'll probably go back to splitting. I probably could have killed that guy with 1 more hit, but I didn't want to risk it, because I've died enough already. But now he's gonna die. Gonna steal this blue again, because it just respawned. And I have a lot of money, so I'm gonna recall unless somebody shows up. I want to kind of see if somebody shows up bot lane, because that looks like such an easy opportunity for me to get a kill. So I'm waiting, and at the last second Trundle finally shows up. So I'm gonna go get him. Sona pops out of nowhere. 2 hits. She's dead. Trundle. Flash down. Alright. So let's just continue the split push. Trundle, you gonna try to stop this? Well, looks like you're gonna succeed. Recalled 3,500 gold, so I can finish my Infinity Edge. And I'm gonna sell something so I can pick up either the Sheen or the Warden's Mail. Looks like I'm gonna go for Sheen because I'm so fed. And also, the extra physical damage from the Sheen proc is gonna work with your lifesteal and your masters as well. So that's pretty good if you want to go Iceborne. Also, if you're against heavy magic on the enemy team, just go for Iceborne because you don't want to get all that armor from Frozen. It's good to at least get a little bit of armor pretty much always, even if you're against heavy magic. So Iceborne if you're against heavy AP, and then just go magic resist after that. Looks like these guys are gonna survive for one more push, but that's going to be the end of this guide. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned. Let me know if you have any questions, and remember, if you have any ideas that you want me to try for a build, leave it in a comment as well. See you next time.